Kumar Rocker is back, and boy howdy, was that a rough one.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way to help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about Kamar Rocker's first start off the IL, why he showed something brilliant and new, and yet still was in a really, really rough way. Is he going to stay in the major leagues? We also talk about Wyatt Langford's big day and this bullpen coming through while the Rangers offense rallied. But the Rangers lost 5-4 in this one. Another one-run loss. This one not because the bullpen blew it by any means or because the Rangers couldn't hit for anything. There's a decent offensive performance, but this game ultimately came down to Kamar Rocker. His first start back off the IL, out for over a month with a shoulder impingement, through 3 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned, to go with 2 walks, 1 homer, and 5 strikeouts. This was a real mixed bag for Kamar Rocker. If you want to look at the bright spots, and I do want to start with that because there was something new in this start for Kamar Rocker, and unfortunately also a bit of the old frustrations. But what was new was his cutter, the pitch he threw the most in this game. This was a pitch that he had played around with before. He had thrown it just once in a big league game this season. I believe he got a called strike on it and then never threw it again until he had the feel for it, which he got the feel back on these two rehab outings in the minor leagues while he was on the IL waiting to come back. He threw the cutter 32 times of his 66 pitches. He threw the sinker 30 times of his 66 pitches. So the only pitches that he threw that weren't cutters or sinkers, he threw 2 changeups, 1 curveball, and 1 four-seam fastball. That's kind of the problem in the nutshell. Well, one of the problems with this start and with Rocker in general this year, in a nutshell, is that he picks 2 pitches, 1 to 2 pitches, 2 if you're lucky, on a given start, and that's kind of all he trusts. He doesn't trust the game calling because I'm sure Jonah Heim isn't back there just saying, all right, just throw 1 or 2 pitches. You can't really get away with that as a starting pitcher unless you're literally Jacob deGrom. If you have Jacob deGrom's four-seam fastball that's sitting 98 with all those incredible properties, and you have the impeccable command of it, and you have Jacob deGrom's slider, that's one of the best sliders we've ever seen in the history of the game, then you could kind of get away with it. But even deGrom doesn't usually go this much of just 2 pitches. Now, the cutter was exceptional. It was truly exceptional. It did get hit pretty hard a couple of times. That's because when you're a starting pitcher, especially going through the lineup multiple times, and the hitters have seen your 2 pitches multiple times, it's easier for them to square it up. But he got 21 swings on that cutter. 11 of them were swings and misses. 41% of those pitches that he threw were either called strikes or swings and misses. He threw the sinker 30 times. He got 14 swings, and 4 of those were swings and misses. He also got 5 called strikes there, a pretty good rate. And the velocity was back up. It was way back up. He averaged 97.8 miles an hour on that sinker, where for the season he's averaged 95.7. That is over 2 miles an hour up. It was 2 miles an hour harder on the changeup. It was 4.3 miles an hour harder on the 1 curveball he threw. Again, that was just 1 curveball. He threw 1 four-seam fastball, got a swing and miss on that at 98. The cutter was averaging 91.7 miles an hour, but it was working for him. He was getting a lot of ugly swings and misses in this one. And my frustration with Rocker had been that he was throwing the four-seam fastball too much. That had been one of the pitches that he was relying on. It was just, it's not a good pitch for him. Unless that velocity is way up there, the margin for error, when he's averaging, 95 with a four-seam fastball as opposed to, 96, 97, 98, it's much more hittable pitch. And especially when you're throwing it, you know, half the time or 40% of the time, it's just a lot more hittable at pitch. And he has these other pitches. He has basically now three versions of that incredible breaking ball: the slider version, the cutter version, which is the hardest. They broke out tonight. This was the first we've really seen him just go at hitters, and he got some really ugly swings with that. He's also got the curveball that, it's been effective at times. I mean, last year in Seattle, that curveball was unbelievable. It was so good. He's had games where the curveball has looked incredible, but this year he hasn't really trusted it. I mean, he's thrown the sinker the most this year, 143 times. He's thrown the slider 137 times. He didn't throw the slider version of that pitch at all last night. And if he had just, varied it up a little bit, I mean, he really only trusts that breaking ball, whatever version of it he's using on a given night. If he could just use all three versions of that breaking ball on a given night, he'd barely have to throw any changeups or forcing fastballs or sinkers or anything else. If he just became a three-pitch pitcher and he could have the feel for that cutter, the slider, and the curveball, I honestly think he might not even need those other three pitches, because he is a six-pitch pitcher. Honestly, I'd rather him just kind of shelve the four-seam fastball, just maybe break it out there every once in a while, just to throw guys off, just to show that you have multiple different versions of that fastball. But I really think that eventually he needs to start trusting his catcher, because if you become a two-pitch pitcher, that's not a starting pitcher. That's just not a way to have sustainable success as a starting pitcher. And there's a lot of room for improvement here. There's still that ceiling. I mean, getting that many swings and misses, that many called strikes, just getting those kinds of ugly swings from what has been a pretty decent offense in the Tampa Bay Rays, it shows you why people are so high on him. It shows you why he got drafted in the top 10 twice, because he has special potential. But unfortunately, at this point, right now, that's kind of all it is. And you look at what he did in those rehab outings, you think, okay, well, just go back and send him back down to the minors. The thing that is tough for sending him back down to the minors, that it probably is what's going to happen. And the reason why he has had this problem so far, in that he picks one to two pitches in a start and just goes with that, is because it's been good enough. It's because everywhere he's been besides the big leagues, his stuff is so darn good that, heck, he could just get away with throwing basically only sliders, or basically only curveballs one day, or basically only cutters and sinkers one day. And he's barely getting touched, because the stuff is just so darn good that he could just outstuff his way into dominating everybody he faced all the way up to the major leagues. In college, he really could have just thrown sliders, and that would have been perfectly fine. But occasionally he threw that four-seam fastball quite a bit, and even though the extra properties on it were, not ideal, college hitters couldn't do anything with it, because it's, sitting 95, 96, 97. They just couldn't do anything with it, especially when he paired it off of that rock ball, the slider, curveball, whatever version of it he was throwing on a given night. They couldn't do anything with it. He didn't even need the changeup in college. I don't even know that he had it in college, if he threw it at all. He didn't have a sinker really in college because he didn't need it. Now you need it. Big league hitters are very, very good. They are incredible. And unless you have literally Mariano Rivera's cutter, which he doesn't, it's a very good cutter for sure. It's honestly getting, more swings and misses than Mariano Rivera's cutter. But Mariano Rivera also had elite command, which at points in this game, Rocker did. There were quite a few pitches that were just dotted on the corners. But he just needs a little bit more refinement in that pitch mix, in trusting his catcher with the game plan, and also in the mental part of the game. Because I haven't even talked about the biggest goof up and the real reason why this Rangers team lost. And it's not because of the pitches Kumar Rocker made. It's something else Kamar Rocker did. Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's the game-winning shot or a breakout play, there has never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have even more ways than ever to get in on the action. Right now, let's look at those World Series odds. I'm betting that the Los Angeles Dodgers are still the favorites to win the World Series. Yes, they are at plus 240. Tigers now have the third best odds, plus 950. And of course, the New York Yankees at plus 550 to win it all. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Shout out to the Invaders making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back and talking about Jack Leiter's start. Hopefully, not a serious sweep at the hands of these Tampa Bay Rays. But even if that horrible, horrible things comes to pass, I will still be here talking about whatever's going on every single weekday on this Locked On Rangers podcast. But the real reason that the Rangers lost last night, credit to Rocker for going 3 1/3 innings. I didn't think he was going to make it that far. I mean, he had some incredible innings. I really do want to hone in on that he did have some really, really good moments. I mean, striking out 5 and getting that many swings and misses, that many, 16 swings and misses, a 43% whiff rate on 66 pitches. That's a good day. 16 whiffs is good for a 100 pitch day, and let alone a 66 pitch day. But the gaffe of the night, the real reason that the Texas Rangers lost, was fundamentals. Just a basic bit of fundamentals missed by Kumar Rocker in that inning where everything spiraled out of control. A ball hit by Jake Mangum, runners on second and third. It was a ball hit to first baseman Jake Berger, and Rocker was delayed getting to first base. He was a little slow getting to first base. It was 2 outs, so if he had gotten to first base and covered it like he should have, maybe Mangum still beats it out and 1 run scores. But the worst mistake was him forgetting that there was also a runner on second base. It was a little daring of the runner on second base, Jonathan Aranda, to score on what should have been a routine ground out to the first baseman. But Rocker, after he was delayed and didn't get the out at first base and didn't get out of the inning with just 3 runs, heck, maybe he would have gone a completely 5 innings or 6 innings, or who knows what he would have done at that point had he covered first base properly. But he was a little late to the bag. And then Jonathan Aranda scores because Rocker just sighs and leans his head back and isn't paying attention. Meanwhile, Aranda's running for home. Aranda's running as the 5th run home, and Marcus Semien is screaming at him, "Hey, look, throw the ball to the plate. You got the guy running. What are you doing? Get your head in the game. The ball is still live. The play is still alive. What are you doing, Kamar?" An inexcusable mental gaffe apparently he had done before of just having issues covering first base. Now, when he's doing it in the minor leagues, it's not frequent because usually he's striking everybody out. You don't have to worry about covering first base or really anybody playing defense at all if you're striking everybody out, which he was doing for the most part in the minor leagues. But this is just a complete mental guffaw. This was an embarrassing moment for him, and he didn't talk to the media after the game, and the Beats crucified him for it. I mean, it was just a brutal write-up of just I don't get it. Give the guy a day. And normally, players, especially starting pitchers, the rule is the unwritten rule. Not that I'm a big fan of unwritten rules, is that you have to talk after the game. No matter how bad it is, especially as a starting pitcher, if this was your day, you got to talk about it. But this was something I'm sure he was beating himself up tremendously about. And he kind of should. This was an inexcusable play. This is the reason why the Rangers lost. There haven't been very many games this year where the Rangers have lost because of their starting pitching. And some of the few that it has been, like that one in Cincinnati that was just a brutal game. He just did not have it. It's been because of Kamar Rocker. I don't know of really any game outside of a couple by Jack Leiter. There really haven't been any from either Jacob deGrom or Eovaldi or from, well, Malley nearly had one when he didn't make it through 2 innings against the Boston Red Sox. The Rangers still managed to win that one, but games that the Rangers have lost because of their starting pitcher this year, there have been maybe 3 or 4, and all but 1 or 2 of them have been Kumar Rocker. It has been brutal, and he needs to get better at that. He just does, and it's really frustrating because there are some moments of absolute brilliance from Rocker, and then just a few tweaks here and there. Just a little bit better pitch mix here, a little bit better head in the game playing defense there. And this could be a completely different ball game. This could have been a win. This could have been a series win. This could have been a really, really great performance. I mean, the velocity was way up on that sinker and on that cutter. Well, I don't know if the velocity was up on that cutter because he hasn't thrown it before. There's nothing really to base it off of. But he's just not quite there just yet. And if it keeps being a starting pitcher who can only use 2 pitches, maybe he does end up in a leverage role in the bullpen. Maybe that is his fate at some point this year. Maybe that's how he helps the Rangers best if they are able to go on a run and kind of figure things out at this point. Because the offense did its job, especially Wyatt Langford, who had a 3-hit day. In my opinion, it should have absolutely been a 4-hit day because of what he did in the first inning, absolutely clearing the first baseman, hurdling over a guy, Jonathan Aranda, after a little bit off throw by Jose Caballero at shortstop. Not a terrible throw, but especially with a speedy base runner, you got to kind of get to that really, really fast and get it out of your glove really, really fast. But I think there should be an imposed new rule in Major League Baseball. If you hurdle a man, that shouldn't count as an error. It shouldn't count as a fielder's choice. It should count as a base hit. If you hurdle a grown man in stride at full speed, that should count as a hit. I'm sorry. That should absolutely count as a hit. Just the rule of cool, you could call it. Because when plays look certain, especially in the NFL, when there's a catch that looks really cool, it's not, maybe his toe is just barely on the line, but I say, hey, that's a cool play. It should count. Or, a guy maybe catches a ball on one hop or something. It should count. Occasionally, you should have some room for some cool in baseball. And that was a really, really cool moment. But having 3 hits in a game for Wyatt Langford was sorely needed because the rest of this lineup wasn't doing all that much. Some good plate appearances by Evan Carter. Marcus Semien stays hot with a double, his 3rd of the season. Jonah Heim just barely squeaking one in there. Finally, the Rangers got a break with a cheapy home run. They've given up a couple of them, but on this day, at this time, a 92.8 mile an hour exit velocity homer in just 3 of 30 ballparks, including Rate Field in Chicago for the White Sox. Of course, the formerly known as the Juice Box, now Daikin Park in Houston, and George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. Not even in Yankee Stadium, even though this is supposed to be a near exact copy of Yankee Stadium. This one, it would have been a homer here, but not in the OG in New York. But Jonah Heim getting a homer, Adolis Garcia getting a base hit, just kind of everybody contributing in that 5th inning where the Rangers were able to score 3 runs, including a 110 mile an hour single by Adolis Garcia, who was back in the lineup starting in this game. We did not see Alejandro Ozuna in this game at all. Then Jake Berger hustling out what could have been an inning-ending double play and reminding you, hey, big guys can run too. And Jake Berger can definitely run. Jonah Heim with that homer. Then a hard struck ball by Josh Smith for a single. Then a Wyatt Langford double into the corner, 103.1 miles an hour off his bat. Then a Corey Seager walk-in. Well, couldn't quite be extended by Josh Young with him striking out. But the Raiders had quite a few hard hit balls in that very next inning. Should have had, maybe another run scored there. Evan Carter with his hardest hit ball, I believe, at least of the day, 103 miles an hour, and a strikeout by Semien, and 106 miles an hour off the bat of Adolis Garcia. He's hitting the ball hard. He's just not hitting it in the air. He's also still having those problems with striking out on high fastballs, doing that again today. And Jake Berger's line out with an 800 expected batting average that ended the day. I mean, this could have gone a little bit differently for the Texas Rangers, piling up 8 hits and 4 runs in this one. The offense did enough. When they score 4 runs, normally this team is winning. This was not the case tonight, but the bullpen deserves some love for keeping this team in it. We're going to talk about who stepped up and where this Rangers team goes from here right after this. Shout out to the Rangers being Locked On Rangers, your first listen every single day. After every single game, Jeff Biggs is coming to you with the Locked On Rangers postcast right after every single game, live reaction in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds, wherever you get those, and on YouTube as well. Go check him out. He's been doing a great job in a rough first season. I'm happy to have Jeff as a part of the Locked On Rangers team. Now, this Rangers offense doing a decent job of getting these hits and trying to mount together some rallies in this one. Still, the strikeouts have been really piling up for this Ranger squad. 11 strikeouts yet again. It feels like 100,000 games in a row where the Rangers have struck out 10 plus times. I know mathematically that's not accurate, but spiritually it feels accurate. It has just been a really, really rough way, and especially for Corey Seager. I mean, Seager has been not swinging the bat well. I mean, he's had some hard hit balls. It's been hard for him to get the ball in the air, and the strikeout rate has been really rough. Since coming off the IL, he's played 6 games. He's got 25 plate appearances. He's hitting 0.83 with a 120 on base percentage because of that one walk he had last night, 2 hits, both singles, and 11 strikeouts. 11 strikeouts and 25 plate appearances, and it's been just kind of brutal to watch the last week. The at-bats have not been quality. I mean, I'm not worried about Corey Seager just being bad now. It happens, especially since he maybe came back a little bit sooner. Maybe just the fear of Corey Seager was thought to maybe help this lineup out a little bit more than it actually has. But still, especially the juggling of the lineup in the bottom third of this order. I mean, Jake Berger hitting 8th last night. Adolis Garcia bumped all the way up to 7th. I mean, you have one good game, heck, maybe even one good plate appearance, and the lineup just keeps on shuffling after 4. It's just dealer's choice of anybody who can get hot. I don't blame Bochy for trying a bunch of new things, but occasionally you just got to kind of stick with guys for maybe a week, maybe 3 games or so. Just keep the same lineup out there. But alas, that is not what he is doing. But this bullpen, it deserves some love, some shout out for a great performance by 4 different guys keeping the Rangers in it. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3. Yes, 4. I can still do math. I can still count. Jacob Webb, an inning and a third of 1 hit ball, 2 strikeouts for him. Hobie Milner comes in, gets 4 outs. 2 of those are strikeouts, allows just 1 hit. Cole Winn comes in, keeps his ERA for the season at 0. Hobie Milner gets his ERA back down under 2, which it should have been if not for those unjust 3 earned runs tagged to him in that catastrophe by the bullpen in Chicago last week or last weekend, just or however long ago that was. It feels like it was just yesterday, but my goodness, it has been a bit of a rough go for this bullpen at times, but this was a really, really good outing by this pen of keeping this Rangers team in it and this team rallying. For sure. And Sean Armstrong comes in and pitches a perfect inning with a couple of strikeouts. His ERA is now down to 3.65 for the season. Jacob Webb has almost got his ERA under 5. I think the idea of just having Jacob Webb only face lefties for the moment is probably for the best. His sweeper hasn't been that great this year. The changeup has been elite, so he has been much better facing opposite-handed hitters than he has against same-handed hitters. So maybe just having him as a right-on-left specialist is probably going to be his role. He has had a rough last couple outings, so it's good to see him just bounce back and have another scoreless outing, just kind of get things back under control, and was a lower leverage situation because the Rangers, were out of it. But the Rangers just rallying back, including getting a gift late in this one, nearly clawing all the way back in it with Josh Smith reaching on what should have almost been multiple errors by the second baseman, Brandon Lau, just bobbling a ball, which would have been the final out that Josh Smith hit. It was a hard hit ball, but then while he was bobbling it, getting it and then throwing it errantly to first base, Smith going to second base on defensive indifference, and then Wyatt Langford smacking a ball into right field for the nearly to get on base as the tying run. Seager, ball he hit was over 300 expected batting average, and maybe if it was hit just a little bit to the left or to the right, it would have gotten in past there, and the Rangers could have done something with Josh Young as the, with the tying run at third base. I don't know. Maybe things could have gone just a little bit differently, but a credit to this offense. When the Rangers went down to 5-0, I thought, okay, this game is absolutely lost. There's no way the Rangers claw back into it. It's just going to get uglier. They're going to use the underside of the bullpen, and this offense isn't going to be able to do anything because the offense hasn't been able to do anything even when they're not losing, especially when you're down 5-0. I thought, it's okay, well, that's it. Pack your bags. That's done. This game's over. But it wasn't. And I do want to give a credit to this offense for putting together a rally, for having competitive at-bats. I mean, not the best at-bats, but still competitive at-bats and clawing their way back in it and scraping off, 3 runs against Shane Baz, who at points looked incredible in that game. I mean, the quality of the at-bats has been steadily progressing. It's not progressing quite fast enough, but still, it is progressing. And maybe eventually this team will figure things out. And maybe once the Rangers get Eovaldi off the IL, the Rangers will either put Rocker in the pen or back in the minor leagues. I don't know. He's at least going to have, I think, one more start to kind of figure this out. I think it's the 13th where Nathan Eovaldi will be eligible to return off the IL. But still, this is a game that the Rangers needed to win. This is the last game was a game the Rangers needed to win. The last game was, I thought, sloppier as a team, as opposed to just, it was kind of really just a little bit of Kumar Rocker being kind of sloppy in this one. But again, even though it was frustrating, you got to look for those moments of joy. You got to look for those moments of, breakthrough, of things looking at least differently. Yeah, the expected batting average on Corey Seager's ground out was 490. He hit it 97 miles an hour off the bat. It just kind of hit it into the ground as opposed to blooping it over the second baseman, which would have been ideal. But, credit to Rocker for, working his way back and having those moments of brilliance, or having a mostly, it could have been a great outing. Definitely moments where you think, okay, this could be something. This could be, a little bit of a breakout. And also some great defensive plays by the Rangers, including Wyatt Langford on a ball that was hit to the warning track where he had to turn around and, angle back. It was just a really, really difficult play. And seeing him out there playing elite defense in left field, I mean, this whole Rangers defense has been very, very good. Again, another reason why it's so incredibly frustrating that the offense can't quite get going against a guy whose ERA was 5 heading into this game. It's not like Shane Baz has been untouchable. He's definitely had some moments. The Rangers were able to, carve out 4 of their 5 hits on the day against Baz in that 5th inning, his final inning of work. They nearly got him out of that game because they were pouring it on so much in that 5th inning, but they just weren't quite able to break the game open. Again, this Rays pen is very, very good, and scoring against them is very, very difficult, especially when you got guys like Mason Montgomery, who's out there tossing 100 from the left side. I mean, he was just absolutely blowing guys away. I mean, the at-bat to Josh Smith, just 3 fastballs belt high, one of them a little bit away, strike 1 called, one of them a little bit in, swung and missed, and strike 3, 100 miles an hour right down middle. And Josh Smith couldn't do a darn thing with it, because when you have a lefty like that tossing 100 miles an hour as a lefty, it is a very difficult thing to do. Wyatt Langford was able to do a really good bit of hitting on a 101 mile an hour fastball, turning it around to the opposite field. That was a nice bit of hitting. It was nice to have somebody besides Jonah Heim's little bloop homer as some kind of offense in this one. But again, it's just the same darn thing. Credit to them for clawing back, but now they're a season high 4 games below 500. They're still not completely out of it, because the Astros are now in first place in the AL West, but 33-28. The Rangers are 5 games behind them in the loss column and 4 games behind them in the win column. So 4.5 games back. We're still just barely into June. There's still a lot of season left, and we're still not going to see Yordan Alvarez for quite some time. And I believe Ronel Blanco is having Tommy John surgery. So the Astros are catchable. The Mariners, they're catchable too. This is not an unwinnable division. It's just going to need to start happening very, very quickly, as soon as tonight, and especially this weekend series against the Nationals, because this team can't keep losing games, especially winnable games like this, for much longer. It is just getting too late in this season for this nonsense. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.